Welcome to Chapter 7, Civil War and the End of the Republic. The fall of the Roman Republic was a long and complex process that culminated in a series of civil wars, which ultimately led to the establishment of the Roman Empire. The Republic, which had endured for nearly 5 centuries, was brought to its knees by political corruption, social unrest, and the ambitions of powerful military leaders. These internal conflicts shattered the delicate balance of power that had once characterized the Roman political system, paving the way for the rise of autocracy under Julius Caesar and eventually Augustus. The period leading to the end of the Republic was dominated by powerful individuals whose rivalries and ambitions shaped the course of Roman history. Central to this story are Julius Caesar, Pompey the Great, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, the members of the First Triumvirate, and the subsequent conflicts between Caesar and the Senate, culminating in the assassination of Caesar and the rise of his heir Octavian, later Augustus. The roots of the civil wars can be traced back to the formation of the First Triumvirate in 60 BCE, a political alliance between 3 of Rome's most influential figures, Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. Each of these men had their own ambitions and sought to use the alliance to further their political and military careers. Julius Caesar was a brilliant general and politician who had gained fame through his conquests in Gaul, modern-day France and Belgium. Pompey the Great was a celebrated general who had earned the favor of the Roman people through his military campaigns in the East and his suppression of piracy. Crassus was the wealthiest man in Rome and a powerful political figure, known for his role in defeating the slave revolt led by Spartacus. Together, these 3 men dominated Roman politics and effectively bypassed the Senate, using their combined power to secure key positions and pursue their own interests. However, this alliance was inherently unstable, and tensions soon began to emerge, particularly between Caesar and Pompey. The death of Crassus in 53 BCE during a failed military campaign against the Parthians in the East marked the beginning of the end for the First Triumvirate. With Crassus gone, the fragile balance between Caesar and Pompey quickly deteriorated. Pompey, who had once been Caesar's ally, began to distance himself from Caesar and align more closely with the conservative elements of the Senate, who viewed Caesar's growing power with suspicion. Caesar, meanwhile, had achieved unprecedented success in his conquest of Gaul, greatly expanding Rome's territories and solidifying his popularity among the Roman people and the military. However, his success also made him a threat to the Senate and Pompey, who feared that Caesar might use his military power to seize control of the government. The Senate, increasingly influenced by Pompey, ordered Caesar to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen. Caesar, however, refused to comply, knowing that doing so would leave him vulnerable to prosecution by his political enemies. Instead, he made a fateful decision that would change the course of Roman history. In 49 BCE, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army, an act of open defiance against the Senate and a declaration of civil war. The phrase "crossing the Rubicon" has since become synonymous with passing a point of no return, as Caesar's decision set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to the fall of the Republic. As Caesar marched on Rome, Pompey and the Senate fled the city, regrouping in Greece to gather their forces. Caesar, however, moved swiftly, consolidating his control over Italy and Spain before crossing into Greece to confront Pompey. The decisive battle came in 48 BCE at Pharsalus, where Caesar's smaller but more experienced army defeated Pompey's larger forces. Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was assassinated upon arrival, leaving Caesar as the undisputed master of Rome. Despite his victory, Caesar's challenges were far from over. He still faced opposition from remnants of the senatorial faction and rival leaders, including Pompey's sons and supporters. After his victory at Pharsalus, Caesar returned to Rome and was appointed dictator, a position that had traditionally been temporary and limited to times of crisis. However, Caesar used his dictatorial powers to implement sweeping reforms aimed at centralizing authority and addressing some of the Republic's long-standing problems. Caesar reformed the Roman calendar, created public works programs, and extended Roman citizenship to people in the provinces. He also sought to curb the power of the Senate, filling it with his own supporters and reducing its influence in the political process. While many of Caesar's reforms were popular with the people, they alarmed the traditional Roman elite, who viewed him as a threat to the Republic's Republican values. In 44 BCE, Caesar was declared Dictator Perpetuo, or dictator for life. This move further alienated the Senate, many of whom believed that Caesar was positioning himself as a king, an abhorrent idea to Romans who prided themselves on their republic and had long despised the notion of monarchy. The growing fear that Caesar was dismantling the republic led to one of the most famous events in Roman history, his assassination on March 15, 44 BCE, the Ides of March. A group of senators led by Gaius Cassius Longinus and Marcus Junius Brutus conspired to kill Caesar in an effort to restore the republic. On the day of his assassination, Caesar was stabbed 23 times by the conspirators as he entered the Senate. His death, however, did not restore the republic as the assassins had hoped. Instead, it plunged Rome into further chaos and civil war. After Caesar's death, power struggles erupted between his supporters and the assassins. The two main factions were the forces loyal to Caesar's legacy, led by his adopted son and heir, Octavian, later Augustus, and Mark Antony, one of Caesar's closest allies, versus the Republican forces of Brutus and Cassius. The conflict between these two factions culminated in the Battle of Philippi in 42 BCE, where the forces of Octavian and Antony defeated Brutus and Cassius, who both committed suicide after their defeat. With the Republicans defeated, Octavian and Antony divided control of the Roman world between themselves. However, tensions soon developed between Octavian and Antony, leading to yet another civil war. Antony's alliance with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, further strained relations between the two men. In 31 BCE, Octavian defeated Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium, effectively bringing an end to the civil wars. With Antony dead and Cleopatra's suicide soon after, Octavian became the uncontested ruler of Rome. In 27 BCE, he was granted the title Augustus, marking the beginning of the Roman Empire and the end of the Roman Republic.